Hello everyone, welcome to this week's GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide, where we are taking Group 4 machinery around Dragon Trail Seaside, which of course is home to the famous Chicane of Death. Moving on to the sort of detailed settings for the race, we've got 10 laps to get round. We have fuel consumption and fuel consumption at times 3, tyre weight at times 7, which is the same as the Group 3 race last week. We have the racing medium and the racing hard tyres available, so thankfully it looks like there should be scope for some strategy in there. Of course, for this guide we will assume those racing hard tyres are going to be mandatory. So yes, Dragon Trail Seaside, one of the original circuits in the game, I do believe. Of course, famous for being home to the Chicane of Death, which we're going to just take a look at here. This is the exit of the Chicane of Death. I suspect it will claim a great many souls over the course of the week. Hopefully you'll not be one of them, hopefully I will not be one of them. But in Group 4 machinery, a slightly easier corner than it is in some other categories, that is for sure. So let's move on to some action on the track. Now we are in the BMW M4. No special reason for choosing this car, just when I do these guides I sort of go into the car selection screen. So I take a look at the cars and generally pick something I've not driven for a wee while. The BMW M4 is a fairly strong car in the category at the moment, and I must say it was a bit of a joy to drive around this circuit. Not a whole lot of dramas, it seemed to have a really good front end. I'm not entirely sure how competitive it will be in the grand scheme of things as the week progresses. Obviously certain cars will come to the fore as being the most competitive. I have to say that picking a competitive car or what car is going to be the best for a car track combination has never been my strong point, that's definitely for certain. So this first strategy we're going to look at here is just what you would expect. It's the one stop. We're going to run the medium tyres up until we think is the optimal moment to change those hard tyres. Of course, it's treating the strategy as the hard tyre being mandatory. At this point of making the video, I don't know if it's just going to be the hard tyre that's mandatory or both the medium and the hard tyre. But for the majority of the guide we will just treat the hard tyre as being the mandatory one. So we've coming towards the end of lap number 1 here. We're going to take our first excursion through the Chicane of Death. BMW M4 handles the Chicane of Death beautifully in 5th gear, seems to be very poised and balanced. And that's just definitely something you're going to be looking for in this race, a car that you're comfortable going through that corner with. But we jump forward here to lap number 7. The sort of medium tyres have held out pretty decent to this point, although you can see there's a fair bit of red showing down there in the tyre wear indicator in the bottom left hand corner. I had done a few practice laps. I had a rough idea what kind of lap time I would be able to get out of the hard tyres, which was kind of a very high 46 if I put a lap together, but more generally a sort of 47 flat or a 47.1. Lap 6 there is a 47 flat, so I do know that I can go faster than that on the hard tyres. So into the pits we'll come, and we'll get an idea of how this pit loss is looking, and we'll talk about the fuel. So fuel, just get that one out of the way straight away. Fuel is no issue in this race. The BMW is pretty good on fuel anyway, but I can't see any car, with maybe the exception of the Mustang, having any issues with the fuel. Pit loss though is rather large at 10 seconds. That did surprise me a little bit. I thought it was around about 8 seconds for this track, but it's definitely about 10 seconds. And that's going to have a big influence on this race, I do believe, because that is quite a lot of time to make up if you're maybe going to be looking at the next strategy we're going to sort of take a look at. But we'll just jump forward here to the end of the last lap. You can see our first flying lap there on the hard tyres was a 147.2. Not brilliant, we should be able to do a little bit better than that. As we come towards the second sector here, how far we're going to be down on our best lap, which is a 46.6. It looks like we're at a 10th, and I think we've actually set a blue sector there, so we're on a pretty good lap here on the hard tyres. Through the Chicane of Death, no drama, no issue there. As I said, BMW M4 seems very, very stable through that corner. I'm definitely going to take this out for a few races anyway, just to see how it holds up in actual races against other cars. Into last corner we come. Not a great last corner in all fairness, but we've got on the power not too bad. Certainly using all the track, that's for sure. Using that curb there just to sort of take the shortest possible line, and what sort of lap time can we finish with. It's a 146.9, so that's what I was looking to do on the hard tyres. Finishing time coming in at 18 minutes 07.8. So that is the benchmark as we move on to the no stop strategy. So as always, must mention that this strategy will only be possible if it's just the hard tyres that are mandatory. As I've said earlier in the video, we don't know if it will be the hard tyres that are mandatory or both the medium and the hard. But it's definitely worth checking this out for the guide just to see how it's going to stack up against the one-stop. And to be fair, at this point it is looking pretty promising. Initially the sort of hard tyres look to be around about a second slower than the mediums, but that's really only for maybe laps 1 and 2, and then the mediums do start to wear after that point. The sort of lap time stays stable basically because the fuel burns off, but the hard tyres are obviously a little bit more durable, so you can keep those lap times a little bit more stable, and you can actually start to go a little bit quicker. You can see we set our fastest lap on lap number 5 there at 47.1. So that gap of a second sort of gradually comes down as the laps roll on. Now I did say this run was going pretty well until we sort of came across the AI car just at the exit of the chicane of death, and got badly held up and actually made a collision. So you're going to see here as we come out the last corner and over the start finish line that we're 2 seconds down on our best sector here. So I'm going to sort of take 2 seconds off the finishing time for this run just purely because of that Audi TT getting in our way, and I was not really in the mood to sort of go through the run again, if you like. We actually set a pretty poor last lap as well. I don't know if I was just maybe put off my rhythm with the AI car, or if maybe these hard tyres were beginning to give up the ghost on this last lap. They actually felt pretty decent for the majority of the race, but yeah, they certainly seemed to be sort of going away during this last lap. However, out the last corner we come, taking the shortest line towards the start finish line. Again, you can see a 48.2 to finish there. Pretty slow. We should definitely be in the 47s fairly easy there. The finishing time came up at 18 minutes 07.4. We take away that 2 seconds that the Audi TT cost us, and that's an 18 minutes 05.4 up against the 18 minutes 07.8 of the one stop. So normally at this point in the video, as we kind of look at some replay footage, I'd have a whole lot of information up on the screen regarding my findings. I'm a bit pushed for time as I make this video, and at the time of doing the commentary here I haven't added in that information. I may well do it if I manage to find some time to get it done, but at the time, as I said, as I'm speaking here, I haven't done it. But I will talk through my findings here. We'll do a little bit of a recap on everything we took a look at over the course of the video. So it does look like the no-stop strategy will probably be the way to go in this one, but only, of course, if it's only the hard tyres that are mandatory. It looks to be around about 2.5 seconds quicker than the one-stop strategy. Of course, it will have its own issues. You're probably going to come under some pressure from medium tyre runners in the early stages of the race. That may well cost you time. But in the sort of, as you can see, from what we do in the testing here in a back-to-back comparison, when you've both got a clear track for both strategies, the non-stop is coming in about 2.5 seconds quicker. The one-stop, if that is the way you're going to go, and it may well be the only way you can go if they make both the medium and the hard tyres mandatory. The medium tyres, when you start on them, look like they're good for around about 7 laps, and then that seems to be a sort of roundabout where I found the crossover in lap time with the hard tyres. It was around that 7 lap marker. If you're maybe starting towards the back of the race, then you're probably going to start on the hard tyres. I think you could probably get away with just doing the 2 laps on the hard tyres, burning off a little bit of fuel over those 2 laps, and then doing an 8 lap stint on the mediums. But I do think the way the kind of crossover is with this, the way the medium tyres wear, there's a fairly big window about where you could pit. Obviously, if you find yourself in traffic, then it's probably a good idea to maybe pit that a little bit earlier, try and find a little bit of space on the track. Remember, it's a 10-second pit stop loss. That's obviously why the non-stop's coming in quicker than the one-stop. You just can't make that 10 seconds up with the medium tyres and the slightly fresher hard tyres. But all in all, a fairly interesting race in prospect here. Looks like there should be some good strategy. That's always a good thing. Always good when there's like options available. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it should be a good race. So you've made it to this point in the video. Let's finish off with a little bit of a lap guide. We're in the BMW M4 Brake balance set at +3. Tyre wear on the fronts is a little bit worse than the rears on the BMW. +4 would even it up a little bit, but it does make it very sketchy into the braking zones, particularly turn number 1 here. So I brake just after the sort of red starts on the left hand side there. Get all your braking done before you fully commit to the turn in, and then just roll the car through the first 2 corners. Carry as much speed and momentum as you can. This corner here is flat out. If you get the line absolutely spot on, braking just as the shadow and the track meet there, sort of down into third gear. I turn a little bit early in there, it's not a corner I'm particularly great at, but we're now coming into the fast left, right, left S's. So braking just at the orange barrier there, sort of sacrifice a little bit of speed into this left-hander here, so you can get on the throttle and then it's full throttle all the way through this section, all the way down to the hairpin at the end of this straight. So obviously the earlier you can get on the throttle, you carry that speed all the way down this straight. So braking sort of just after the 150 metre marker, braking a nice straight line, get your gear shifts done, use the engine braking. Tough corner this one because it's easy to get on the throttle and just run a little bit wide there to on the left hand side, catch that grass and spin. You'll see a lot of people spinning there. Now we come up to the world famous chicane of death. See the curb on the the right hand side there at the barrier. I just let off the throttle about halfway down that, in fifth gear in this car, kind of aim for the left hand barrier and hopefully the car misses it and you should be able to carry a good bit of speed. Coming into the last corner, you're braking just before the start of the curb, down into third gear, use all the track as much as you can and then take the shortest possible route over this curb here and back over the start finish line. And that is a lap of Dragon Trail Seaside in the BMW M4 with the brake balance at +3, and that seems like a fairly good point to end the video. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one, hopefully there's been some useful information in there. I do think this race has got some prospects. I think it could be an interesting and entertaining one. I think PD are doing very well with Daily Race C at the moment, with kind of more original combinations. I know we've done Group 4 at Dragon Trail Seaside a few times before in the past, but I don't think it's generally had too much strategy. I think very often it's been a fuel saver, so I think this is the first time we've had this Daily Race C combination with a choice of tyres, which is always good to see, and simply just doing something that can very much shake a race up, even though it's the same track and car category combo. Anyway, please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button if you like what we're doing on the channel. Hopefully see you on the track this week. Do say hello in the post-race lobby if you do, and let's have some good racing. Goodbye now.